So Pete, it's really good to see you. I cannot believe I'm sitting across from someone who's just survived a plane crash. Can you help me understand what happened?
Yeah, it feels equally good to be sitting here, obviously. But we, a little disoriented on time, 6 hours ago, we're coming into land, and there had been comment early in the flight about strong winds. And as we made our descent and made touchdown, it was just a very forceful event where all of a sudden everything just kind of went sideways. And then next thing I know is kind of a blink and I'm upside down, still strapped in.
Do you remember what it sounded like? Do you remember if you flipped over like this or front end?
I believe it was kind of lateral or side roll based on kind of what we saw when we got out, but again, very disorienting to, the 1 minute you're landing, kind of waiting to see your friends and your people, and the next minute you're physically upside down and just really turned around. But it sounded, it was just cement and metal,
No time to be scared?
Oh yeah, plenty of time, yeah. I think the absolute initial feeling is just need to get out of this. And so made sense of kind of where we were and being upside down, and took my seatbelt off, which I had obviously left fastened for the landing. And as I took it off, crashed down onto the ceiling, which had become the floor because we were upside down.
So were people quiet? Were they yelling? What was happening?
I wouldn't call it quiet or yelling. Everyone was just, what I saw was everyone on that plane suddenly became very close in terms of how to help one another, how to console one another, and that was powerful. But yeah, there was definite, what now? Who's leading? How do we find ourselves away from this?
Could you tell if people were okay? I see you've got a cut here. You also have one.
Yeah, a little balder than I was this morning. I'm okay. Not really sure when this happened, whether it was during the landing. I believe it was. But yes, everyone seemed kind of physically, and that's what we did. You could see kind of row by row or area by area, people were checking one another out, making decisions about whether we would help one another with their straps, or if by doing that, would they be landing on somebody else? Mm-hmm. There was one woman in the row behind me who was under the seats, which was very hard to see. And then there was a young boy and his mother sitting on the floor, on the ceiling on the floor. And so my fatherly instinct and background as a paramedic kind of kicked in. And so I was paying the most attention, I guess, to those two people.
So what does that mean? Were they physically hurt, or were you just trying to get them off the plane?
Trying to get them off the plane. Yeah, wasn't in a position to assess necessarily injury. Both were moving fine, but very scared, in particular the woman beneath the seats. And then it was kind of a look around of where is an exit, you can listen to the pre-flight all you want, but when you're suddenly upside down, rolled over, everything kind of goes out the door. So my attention was about 30% towards who is moving us out, and then how can I help promote flow in that direction.
Do you think that was all your paramedic training just kicking in there? Like the passenger part of you was pushed aside for the paramedic part of you?
I definitely had a lot of passenger part. I think I had a healthy amount of paramedic, as we'd call it, in terms of helping, help this woman out from under the chair. Had to really kind of forcefully, lift/drag, but a very human component turned on when you could smell the gas. And then we looked over and the windows were there was just liquid pouring over the small windows, and suddenly it smelled very strong of what I heard people later call AV gas.
Well, you probably know this, but even as you sit here, I can smell the gas on you. You can too, right?
Yeah, ready for a shower. So I think there was paramedic of help, move, and then as a father, I saw this boy and mom who were just, everyone seemed not oddly calm, but everyone seemed like they were there to make sure we helped each other and moved out of harm's way. So you climb out of the plane. The plane's upside down, so you get onto the tarmac, and then what happens? Yeah, so was able to help free and slide our friend and mom, kid first, and then a gentleman who I believe was like a off-duty airline person was next to me. we all made our way kind of, I don't know, 6 to 8 feet, and then climbed out. And it felt like I was stepping onto the tundra, first of all. It was just snow just kind of blowing, and couldn't really see structures anywhere. So it was, I didn't care how cold it was. I didn't care how far I had to walk, how long I had to stand. All of us wanted to just be out of the aircraft.
And were you walking, at this point, had the wings snapped off?
I believe so.
Could you tell?
Yeah. I mean, there was nothing. There was a wing there before, and when we went out that exit, there was no wing to be found. And so once we got back to a safe distance and kind of checked one another, because there's so much adrenaline and stress, that's when I kind of took, what's the word I'm looking for? Evaluated the scenario, realized that there was no wing on that side, and the goal was really to get further and further away from the risk. And then we heard a small, I guess I don't really know size of explosions, but we heard an explosion as the fire department was doing, their efforts to extinguish any risk. So
what was the explosion, do you think?
I don't know. It was we were far enough away as a group. I think there were 75 or 80 of us on the flight. And suddenly that happened. I've not looked at news or anything to know if that exists to date or on media, but there was a sizable explosion, and then by that point there was a fire truck driving towards us on the tarmac, and so we all kind of gathered and took refuge behind that and looked from afar.
Sounds like this is all coming at you in sort of like movie images in a way.
Yeah, my priorities have been pretty simple since that event, which is communication with wife and children, family, friends, even some colleagues, and just really trying to just kind of a pinch me day, like. No kidding.
You're here for a paramedics conference.
Yeah.
You had paramedic friends who were picking you up, and I know they were tracking the plane and then saw this huge plume of smoke and asked you, I think they texted you, like, are you okay? Are you down? What did you say? Do you remember how you responded?
I responded when we stopped. The woman and I had been walking together that I had kind of aided in getting out, and I took my coat off, and I had to grab my phones out of there before I put my coat onto her. And while having my phone, it was just not a big phone guy, and I don't even have social media, but part of me was like, I want to remember this. This may be good for me. And so I took a photograph of it and simply sent it, saying, this is my reality right now. So
I'm down, but I'm on the tarmac.
Down on the tarmac and alive, which is again really amazing.
It is. And then your friend who came to get you found his way to the tarmac and started treating people as well. Right?
Yeah. So the paramedic arrival and along with police and fire was just amazing. I mean, they quickly put those of us that were injured with any sort of blood or sign of trauma onto a single bus. Moved us safe distance away and started to triage and really assess people's severity of injury or ailment. And there was Chief Mike Nolan, who jumped right in and really assisted. And the groups, the paramedics in particular, went from helping kind of what is bleeding to in time, once they got everyone moved to the appropriate sites of care, they just listened and they asked the right questions. And that was, I think, the most powerful part of today was there was just people, no countries, no nothing. It was just people together helping each other.
You got to go look after yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for taking time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.